Welcome back to Ask the Attorney. I'm Amy Rao-Mohan here with Kevin Kennedy, an attorney in Clarksville who's been answering all of these questions that we've gotten today. Lots of different questions, and we've got more to come, so please keep calling that line, 737-plus, 737-7587. We have Hollis, who has been waiting patiently tonight. Good evening, Hollis.
Yes.
Good evening. Go ahead with your question, Hollis.
Yes, my question is about a parenting plan. My parenting plan has been established ever since '09, and I'm supposed to give my kids 7 days on, 7 days off. But the mother of my kids, she's not allowing me to see nor talk to the kids, but yet I'm paying child support and I'm paying for the medical, but I can't see nor talk to my kids.
Okay, well, this is kind of one of those situations when you have a difficulty with a former mother or husband on a parenting plan. I'd talk about dancing a jig. And they say, what do you mean dance a jig? Sometimes you just kind of have to dance along with them, because the other alternative is get a lawyer. It's a push and a pull, and then file a new petition and go to court and say they are in contempt of court. They will not follow the week on, week off. And sometimes you have to give and take. And I have this every day, always, and especially at the holidays. You know, they're calling, they say, well, he's over here and it's not his time and he's intoxicated. You are dancing a jig. Because as soon as you say, I'm not letting him because he's intoxicated, then he's going to file a petition against you for contempt of court, saying you wouldn't allow the visitation. Got to use what would a reasonable person do under those circumstances? If I could not work out any type of reason, then I would go to a lawyer, file a petition, file for contempt, and ask to change custody. Instead of this week on, week off, which it's a ground when you don't have a spirit of cooperation with the other. That is one of the grounds that the court looks at to remove custody. So, okay, Amy, you wouldn't let me see my child when my grandparents were in. Okay, Amy, you wouldn't let me at the family reunion. And Judge, this is the kind of spirit that I've got dealing with Amy. He said, well, Amy, then let me just take the children, and Kevin, you have the children now. And now, Amy, you try to get the visitation. Mr. Kennedy, you think you can? I said, oh, yeah, Judge, I'll handle the visitation. Put me in charge. She'll get her visitation. So that's where you are.
All right. We've got Jeff here. Hi, Jeff.
Hello?
Hello, Jeff.
Yes, this is Jeff. I have a related question to the first one I asked you earlier about eviction. Let's just say hypothetically this individual was given a letter from the office saying you need to vacate the premises ASAP without any judgment from the court.
Okay.
Since the first of the month the rent is due, and now they're in the process of signing new leases, they told this individual that, you know, if you're not out of here by the first, that you're not only going to have to pay the rent, but you're going to have to pay a new deposit. And when the deposit's already been paid from the previous year, but the new one, like I said, is coming up now. I'm going to hang up and listen. Thank you.
Okay. Well, first off, they're not following the law, and they can't do that legally. Now, you may have to hire a lawyer and advance your cause to say, you know, they have wrongfully attempted to evict me, and perhaps a letter from a lawyer would write them, and then that would solve the whole issue. Sometimes you may have to allow them to file their notice of eviction and go to court and ask the judge. But again, they have to give you 30 days. And of course, you know, you maintain, I'm entitled to get my deposit back. The security deposit, everything's fine, there's no damage. And I'll already tell you what the landlord's going to say. He's going to say this wear and tear on this apartment or house is more than normal, and I'm going to take your deposit to paint it again, to put new carpet in, and here we go.
It's amazing how many questions we get about sort of landlord-tenant issues, and people don't know their rights sometimes when they're tenants. Right.
And you know, years ago, landlords perhaps bullied individuals, and that's why we came across and changed the law, Tennessee Residential Landlord and Tenant Act. So tenants do have quite a bit of rights. What you're doing too is the economy is, if it gets worse, more people say, well, I can't pay the rent and I have nowhere to go. So they just have to sit in that rental property until they're actually evicted and moved out.
Right. Got Denny here. Hi, Denny.
Yes, my son is going through a nasty divorce, and the mother has took both the kids to Louisiana. We got one back yesterday. She's refusing to let the other one come back. Is that against state laws?
Well, here's here's one of the things. If once you file for divorce in Tennessee, you're not supposed to move those children more than 60 miles or 100 miles or whatever that parenting plan says without court approval.
Right.
Now, if we're in the middle of a divorce, that would make a great argument for the lawyer who represents the father to say she is intentionally trying to remove these children to prevent the father, but this Tennessee judge still has authority over that child, and you can file a motion and say she's removed the child without asking for the court. The judge will say bring the child back, and if you want to live in Florida, you can live in Florida. The child will remain here in Tennessee, go to Tennessee court, stay with the father. And I've seen that happen over the years. And what I like to say is do a proactive approach. If you know that you're married to someone and they're in the military or the new jobs is going to create this move, or you want to get back to mom, before you do anything, go talk to a lawyer and at least know what your options are. And sometimes there's no other option except going to a judge and letting him order it.
All right, we've got Tony here. Good evening, Tony.
Oh, good evening. I'm a former military person. Been homeless before. It was horrible. But now that I'm on Section 8, this landlord continues to want to raise the rent year after year. And this year I said I can't go up in Ohio because I haven't got a raise in my disability benefits. But the Section 8 office is reviewing it because this man got highly political and power, and he works for this big sports organization in town, the Titans, and he's saying he sent me a letter, either they raise the rent or you have to be gone. He said keep sending these letters sending to me instead of the office.
Okay.
Now, I feel like that's a threat, because he's supposed to turn it in to them, but I can't understand why he could just raise his rent anytime he feels like it.
Well, let me address this. When you're under Section 8 housing, and for those who don't really understand, that's where the government actually pays the rent to the landlord. They are going to control what they will approve and they won't approve. And he'll either agree to the terms, and usually under Section 8, those individuals take less rent because it's a government subsidized program. So you've got the big arm, you've got the government's arm, you've got their ear, you just need to keep talking to them. And I think you've identified he's trying to go around the government and try to talk to you for whatever reason, but again, he's either going to accept Section 8 money or he's not.
Right, good advice there. We've got Mary here. Hi, Mary.
Yes, my question is about elder abuse.
Okay.
I'm an 83-year-old grandmother, and my grandson moved me here. I did need assistance. I had suffered a traumatic fall, and he did provide assistance to me and take me to medical care.
Yes.
But there has been a dispute over some money that I secured with him throughout the years.
Yes.
My life savings, and because where I'm living, I'm in a strange area, and I'm from another state, and they have abandoned me, and I find myself alone, and I'm attempting to get some of my savings back so I can relocate near my one son.
Right.
And they're just resisting giving me any of my funds back, and otherwise that's the only funds that I have.
Well,
what I
yeah.
thought my life savings secured with him through the years.
Okay. The first thing I would try to determine is if he has committed some criminal acts. If he's took money criminally, then you have a right to go to the district attorney, call the police, they'll send a detective out to investigate, and he can be charged with a felony if he's taking money criminally. And as part of that, they'll usually make them pay that money back for him to get out of trouble. If you had placed him on a checking account, and then you've given him the legal right civilly to take that. You also have the legal right to sue him and say that he's abused his discretion and his fiduciary responsibility to you. So again, we have to use good judgment. We must protect our assets. You must trust one of the richest women that I ever represented, a multimillionaire. And I talked to her and I said, well, don't you want to transfer some of this money on to? She said, Kevin, I just can't trust them. And I said, wow. And I heard you. And then after she passed, there was lawsuits left and right and left. And so we understand how that can be. I want you to try to go and talk to, you may even talk to a detective and talk to the police and find out if what he has done is criminally, and then tell them you want to prosecute him. And that's where I'd start. If they say they are, then you can move forward, don't have to have any money, and they would prosecute him for taking your monies. If not, then they would recommend that you'd have to get a lawyer and pursue it. And it could be something that some lawyer may want to take on a third to try to recover those monies for you.
Sad situation there.
It is.
Fortunately, it happens to a lot of people. All right, and for those who haven't seen the show before, Kevin, talk a little bit about sort of the different areas of law that you practice. And I know you've talked about before how many divorces you had to handle.
Yeah, in
at Fort
fact,
Campbell.
you know, at Fort Campbell, you know, the military, it's a high divorce rate. I feel for the military. I love the military, but I know it puts a strain on the homes. In fact, you know, I told you that I did the Oprah Winfrey show during the Persian Gulf War, and it was reported across the Associated Press that I did more divorces during the Persian Gulf War than any lawyer in the nation. And CNN came and interviewed me, the Washington Post came, and the New York Times. And when I look back and look at those years when there were so many, in fact, one morning at the Kennedy Law Firm, the girls said it was 7 o'clock. I opened early, and there were 17 people at the front door waiting to see me to start doing this process. So, you know, it gets down, they say the number one reason is a money reason. You know, the top 3 reasons are adulterous situations, money reasons, and lack of communication. If we already know that, then why don't we try to make a plan of attack? It still takes 2 to tango, and if you and I were married and one is bound and determined that they're going to get a divorce, they're going to get a divorce. And no matter how much I begged, pleaded, or whatever, and there comes a time you have to seek legal advice. I'm also one of these guys that likes to take a proactive approach. You've heard me say it many, many times. And if I knew I had a fight, I want to be the first man to load my pistol, to buy my gun, be ready, and then, not that I want to hurt anyone, but I don't want anyone to hurt me or one of mine. So, and I think that's taught me over the years. You know, I used to wonder, and I used to win lots and lots of cases early in my career, and I wondered how I was able to do that, and it came back that I have a master's degree in history. And, you know, after I analyzed what I was doing and what I did right and what I did wrong, it's a military strategy. We look at, see what resources we have. We take our strengths, we pound the strengths. We see our weaknesses, we protect our weaknesses. And through that, over the year, we've honed down our skill, and we're very effective.
Right. And this show is great because we give people the opportunity to ask any type of legal question they have and get free legal advice, which is rare to have that opportunity. So please take advantage of tonight. Call that number at the bottom of your screen, 615-737-PLUS, 737-7587, and we'll take your questions after the break.